Welcome to Conspiracist.
Hello.
Today, we're examining a pretty interesting hypothesis. The idea that governments might have intentionally concealed evidence or findings related to time capsule mysteries.
Yeah, it's a fascinating angle. We've gathered quite a bit of information looking at different time capsule incidents, some discoveries, and some of the, let's say, more unusual or unexplained bits connected to them.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to explore this idea, look at the arguments for, but also against this kind of intentional concealment.
Okay, so first off, maybe we should clarify what we even mean by a time capsule mystery. What makes one mysterious enough to potentially warrant, covering something up?
Good point. Well, it seems to cover a few things, like instances where totally unexpected or maybe even anachronistic items pop up.
Like that story, was it a Reddit user finding their own photo in a capsule supposedly sealed for, 75 years?
Right. Now, that specific one, I understand, was likely fictional, but it perfectly captures that kind of, wait, what, moment that fuels these ideas. It taps into that fascination with things being out of time.
It does. And then you have other types, like time capsules, where nobody really knows where they came from or why they were buried, or the ones that are just empty.
Ah, yes, the empty ones.
Yeah.
Or the really disappointing ones. That definitely gets people wondering, was it always empty?
Right.
Or was there something inside originally?
Precisely. Think about the West Point time capsule, big buildup, and
Yeah.
then basically silt, right?
Yeah, not exactly revealing lost secrets. Or remember the New York Historical Society one?
Yeah.
Filled mostly with, business papers.
Mundane stuff. But when expectations are high and the reality is underwhelming, that gap can breed suspicion. You naturally ask, was something removed? Was it withheld?
The natural question, I suppose.
It is, but we absolutely have to weigh that against the more, likely explanations. The fact is, a lot of time capsules probably just get forgotten or lost.
Or maybe they never had anything earth-shattering in them to begin with.
Exactly. There was that expert quote somewhere saying capsules often just reflect the everyday lives, the kind of limited views of the people who made them, things that don't necessarily seem profound later on.
That satirical take that they're often full of useless old crap.
Yeah, basically. It sounds harsh, but it underlines that maybe the mystery is just that what they thought was important, we don't.
Okay, fair enough for the mundane ones. But what about genuine oddities, like that red book found inside the Boston Old State House time capsule? That wasn't mundane, it was just unidentified.
That's a better example of a real puzzle, an object nobody could immediately place. That kind of thing definitely sparks speculation. What is it? Why is it there?
And could something like that, if it was deemed sensitive for some reason, be quietly put aside or, downplayed by officials?
It's possible to imagine a scenario, sure. An unexplained item invites interpretation, and without clear facts, people might lean towards hidden meanings. But, again, we have to consider simpler things first.
Like misidentification. Or maybe the paperwork explaining it just got lost over the centuries.
Right. Just because we don't have an answer now doesn't automatically mean someone is actively hiding it. Absence of evidence isn't evidence of conspiracy, usually.
Okay, but this is where the intentional concealment idea really seems to gain traction for some people.
Yeah.
We saw that reference to the movie Chain
Oh,
Reaction.
yeah, the whole suppressed free energy plot.
Exactly. It taps into that wider narrative, doesn't it? That governments or powerful groups might hide knowledge that could, change the world, like cheap energy or something else revolutionary.
That is a classic theme in conspiracy circles, absolutely. The idea that breakthrough tech is deliberately kept under wraps for economic or political control.
So could time capsules fit into that? Could they be seen as a way someone might try to preserve that kind of forbidden knowledge for the future? Or, conversely, something authorities would actively look for and suppress if found?
Theoretically, yes. You could imagine someone trying to use a time capsule as a dead drop for future generations. Or you could imagine authorities wanting to control the release of certain information if a capsule containing it was unearthed.
And this is not just about secret technology, is it?
Yeah.
What about, really sensitive historical information, social stuff, political critiques from the past, maybe accounts of events that contradict the official story we have now?
That's another potential angle. Information that challenges established historical narratives or reveals uncomfortable truths about the past. You could argue there might be a motive to control that.
Wouldn't governments have a kind of vested interest in managing how history is presented?
Potentially. History is often interpreted through a modern lens, and past revelations could be disruptive. But then you hit the practical problem. How would you actually monitor and control potentially thousands, maybe millions of time capsules buried all over the place. It seems logistically difficult.
A needle in a haystack situation.
Pretty much. And there isn't exactly a flood of concrete evidence showing this kind of widespread intervention is happening. That lack of evidence is also something to consider.
But couldn't you flip that argument? Some might say the lack of really thorough public investigations into some of these weird time capsule findings, isn't that suspicious in itself? Like intentional avoidance.
You could interpret it that way. Why aren't we throwing more resources at solving the mystery of the Boston Red Book, for instance?
Right. If there's nothing to hide, why not dig deeper?
Well, the counter-argument is usually about resources and priorities. Investigations cost time and money. Given that most capsules turn out to be pretty mundane, maybe it's just not seen as practical to launch a full-scale inquiry every time something slightly odd turns up.
The useless old crap idea. Again, maybe officials just assume it's probably nothing important.
Could be. Plus, the sheer number of potential little mysteries might just overwhelm any practical attempt to investigate them all thoroughly. It might not be avoidance, just triage.
Okay, let's not forget the simple physics of it all. We saw those guidelines about building time capsules, pointing out how hard actual long-term preservation is.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge factor. Materials break down, seals fail, water gets in, things corrode, paper disintegrates.
So an empty capsule, or one with just sludge inside, might not be a mystery at all. It might just be chemistry and time.
Exactly. The warnings against using certain materials or methods show that even people trying their best often failed because, well, keeping things pristine for a century or more is genuinely difficult. Natural decay is a perfectly good explanation for a lot of disappointing openings. No conspiracy needed.
And what about human error? Or even deliberate fakes?
Yes, that too. Remember the example of the fake $1,000 banknote?
Right. Someone could easily put something misleading or fake into a capsule as a prank, or for some other reason.
Totally. So not everything found inside is automatically genuine or representative. Hoaxes happen, and simple misinterpretations too.
Like those time traveler photos that pop up online sometimes. The person who looks like they're holding a mobile phone in an old picture, or the time-traveling hipster.
Yeah, those often have perfectly ordinary explanations when you look closer. Coincidence, misidentified objects, sometimes just outright digital manipulation. But the initial image seems anachronistic, so people jump to extraordinary conclusions.
It's interesting how quickly we seem to gravitate towards conspiracy, isn't it? The Denver International Airport time capsule is a classic example, just because it had a Masonic symbol.
It became ground zero for all sorts of theories about secret societies and hidden agendas.
Why does that happen? Why do these small, maybe slightly unusual details get blown up into these grand, complex conspiracies?
It's probably deep-seated human psychology, you know? We're pattern-seeking creatures. We want explanations for things we don't understand. And sometimes, in the absence of clear facts, a conspiracy theory can feel like it provides that explanation, that pattern.
Even if the real explanation is much simpler.
Often, yes. In the Denver airport case, the Masonic involvement was apparently quite open and related to the dedication ceremony. Not very mysterious when you know the context, but the symbol itself, unfamiliar to many, created a sort of informational vacuum that speculation rushed into.
The context matters. And speaking of context, the discussion around chain reaction mentioned the 1990s, suggesting maybe a climate of increased government mistrust back then.
Yeah, that period with the end of the Cold War, rapid tech changes, things like the X-Files on TV, it might have fostered a greater public appetite for conspiracy narratives, a heightened skepticism towards official explanations.
So that cultural mood could definitely color how people interpret something like an unusual time capsule discovery.
Absolutely. If you're already primed to mistrust authority, an unexplained event is more likely to be viewed through that lens of potential deception or concealment.
But isn't the flip side that now, in the digital age, it's also easier to debunk things? We have so much information at our fingertips.
That's the paradox, isn't it? The internet can amplify a conspiracy theory incredibly quickly, spread it worldwide in minutes. But it also provides the tools for crowdsourced investigation, fact-checking, accessing historical records.
So it cuts both ways. It can fuel the fire, but also potentially put it out faster.
Precisely. It's a double-edged sword in that respect. Information and misinformation travel at the same speed.
Let's touch on some of those specific examples mentioned. The Danish Cold War bunker, described as a kind of accidental time capsule.
Right. It wasn't intended as a message to the future in the usual sense, but because it was sealed off and preserved, it effectively became one. It captured a specific moment, a whole environment, from the Cold War era.
Does that suggest there could be other hidden government sites out there, maybe forgotten ones, that are essentially time capsules waiting to be found?
It's certainly possible. Governments maintain secret or classified locations for strategic reasons. Over time, some might be abandoned or forgotten, preserving whatever was left inside. Not necessarily conspiratorial concealment for the future, but hidden nonetheless.
Then there was that really weird one, the capsule fished out of a river after 120 years, the one with the pickles.
Yeah, the pickles. Remarkably preserved, apparently. That's a great example of just sheer chance. Accidental preservation in an unexpected place with zero government involvement or grand plan. Just luck and maybe the right kind of pickling brine.
It shows that history can preserve itself in strange ways sometimes.
Definitely. Serendipity plays a huge role in what survives from the past.
And then, contrasting sharply with these accidental finds, you have projects like the Future Library in Norway.
Yes, that's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Highly intentional, meticulously planned, very long-term. Commissioning authors to write books that won't be read for 100 years.
It's a deliberate act of communication across a vast time span using literature. It really highlights the human desire to consciously preserve things for the future.
It does. It serves as a kind of baseline for intentionality, against which we can measure the more ambiguous discoveries from forgotten capsules.
And on an even grander scale, there's the Rosetta Disk.
Right, the attempt to archive basically all human languages onto a tiny, super durable disk. Another example of that fundamental drive to preserve knowledge, to leave a record for whoever comes after, potentially thousands of years later.
It speaks to an impulse to share and preserve, doesn't it? Which feels almost counter to the idea of deliberate, widespread concealment.
It does suggest that, at least on some level, humanity's instinct is often towards preservation and transmission of knowledge, not just hiding it.
So bringing it all together, that recurring theme of time capsules being opened and found to be empty, or just full of damp documents, or, well, unremarkable stuff.
Yeah, the sheer number of disappointing reveals.
It really does suggest that maybe the simplest explanation is often the right one, doesn't it?
It seems the most statistically likely anyway. The mystery is often just that the contents weren't that special to begin with, or they simply didn't survive the journey through time. Decay, forgetfulness, limited foresight by the creators.
These seem like much more common factors than active government agents swooping in to remove sensitive documents from buried boxes.
Based on the balance of evidence and, frankly, probability, yes. While you can never rule out isolated incidents or oddities, the idea of a systematic government conspiracy to control time capsule contents seems less plausible than the mundane realities of history and physics.
So when we consider this hypothesis, intentional government concealment of time capsule mysteries, we've looked at the claims, the potential motives, sure, but we've also seen a whole range of alternative explanations.
Explanations rooted in very human things. Error, forgetting, the limits of technology at the time, the natural process of decay, even just different perspectives on what's important.
And the cultural context, how ready we might be at certain times to believe in conspiracies.
Right. So while some anomalies, like the Boston Red Book perhaps, will keep sparking questions, a broader look suggests widespread, deliberate concealment by governments is probably not the main story behind most time capsule mysteries. The simpler explanations are usually closer to the truth.
It seems the real mystery might just be the enduring human urge to connect with the past and the future, and the inherent difficulties in doing so.
Well put. The fascination is understandable, even if the explanations are often less dramatic than we might imagine.
Thanks for listening to Conspiracist.